Hello, in this tutorial we will show you how to edit the offering page on your website. Upon logging in and being greeted with your dashboard, we will use our mouse cursor to select Pages, and hovering over it, we will select All Pages. Again, this will load the pages available on the website. Next, we can either search for the offering page, or we can go through the list and find it. Here we have located the offering page, and hovering over it, we have additional options such as Edit, Quick Edit, Trash, View, Duplicate, or Edit with Elementor. Please note that we will select Edit with Elementor, as this is the page builder that we are currently using. Next, we will allow the page to load fully before we continue. Again, the speed of this page depends on your internet. The faster your internet, the faster the page will load. As you can see, it is still busy loading the page, and we can tell that by this icon on the left hand side. Now that the page is loaded fully, we will start by using our mouse cursor and navigating. As you can see, we will start with the main item, which is the first section, which is highlighted in the blue bar. By selecting the Edit button, the window on the left will appear. As in our previous tutorials, it is all the same. We have our layout, where we can stretch the section, change the content width, the column gap, change the height, the vertical alignment, and the overflow. Here we can also change the structure. As you can see, it is currently only one column at 100%. Moving on to the styling section. Here we can change the background type. We can choose to add a color as a background by simply selecting that. Or we can choose an image as the background. By selecting the Choose Image option, it will load our media library. Here we can choose the image we wish to add, and we will simply select Insert Media. As you can see, the image has been loaded. Again, we can change the position of the image, the attachment, we can change the repeat settings, as well as the size. For the time being, I will remove this, and we will continue. In the background overlay, we're able to add an overlay. We can choose to either add a color as a background overlay, as seen here, or we can choose to use an image as an overlay. We will select our image, insert, and you will see the image appear in the background. Here we will change the repeat to no repeat, the size to cover, and we can change the transparency. We will now remove the image, and we will move on. In the border section, we're able to add a border to this entire section. We will simply choose the border we wish, and it will appear. We can change the width, the color, and the border radius below. We will set that back to default, and we'll move on to the shape divider. As you can see, we currently have a shape divider at the top, which is the pyramid in this blue color. Here we can change the width of this divider. We will simply set it back to default. And we can also change the height of the divider. We will set that back to 36. Here we can also choose to flip the divider, invert the divider, or we can choose to bring it to the front or not. Lastly, in the Advanced tab, we have our margin and our padding, which will determine the spacing of the section. Again, this is rather for more in-depth development, and you should not require these. However, if we insert a margin of 50 at the top, you can see the spacing has increased by 50 pixels, as well as the bottom. This has happened since we have linked the values together. We can fix this by selecting the link option, removing the bottom, and you'll see the bottom has moved up, but the top has not. We will now set this back to default, and we will move on to our padding. Our padding will be on the inside of the blue bar. We will unlink that together, and we will choose a padding out the top at 100. As you can see, it has increased our padding by 100%, by 100 pixels, my apology. We will now remove that and we will set it back to default. Next, once we are happy with the section, we will move on to the column. By moving down a bit, you will see a dotted black line appear. This indicates that we are busy working with the column. We will select Edit Column, and on the left hand side, the window will appear. Here we can choose to change the column width, change the vertical alignment, the horizontal alignment, the widget spacing, and so forth. Underneath the styling section, we can change the background of this column. As you can see, we will currently choose a red background, and let's change the background of only that column. We'll set that back to default, and we can show you how to add an image to this column. We will select the image we wish to insert, select Insert, and you can see the image has appeared in that column. Again, we can change all the image settings, such as the position, attachment, repeat settings, and its size. I will now remove that image, and we will move on. Again, we have the background overlay, which we have covered. We will simply choose which type of overlay we want, whether it be a color, or whether it be an image. As you can see, you can do combinations of both. For the time being, I'll remove the image, and I'll set the color back to default. Moving forward, we come to the border of the column. Here, we can choose to insert a border for this entire column, as well as change the width, color, radius, and so forth. We will set that back to default, and as you can see, we can also change the typography, which will not be needed. Lastly, in the advanced section, again we have our margin and padding, which we have covered before. Moving away from the column, we will now edit one of our widgets. As you can see, the widgets are indicated by a thin blue border. In this column, we currently have two widgets. We have a text heading. My apologies, we have a text editor widget, where we can change the text. Moving on to the styling section, here we can choose the alignment of the text, as seen here. We can choose to change the color, and if we select the typography, we can change the font, the size, the weight, transform the text, change the style, the decoration, and the line height. Next, we will move on to the advanced section. Again, we have our margin and padding. As you can see, we currently have a padding of 30 at the top. We have done this so that the text does not overlap the blue shape divider. If I was to remove this 30, you can see that the text is sitting too high. So we'll simply enter that 30 back in, and the text will sit nicely. Moving on, we will go on to another widget. As you can see, we simply select the widget we wish to edit, and the bar on the left hand side will appear. I will now show you how to edit this widget. By selecting the edit option, you can see we currently have a text editor with these icons inserted. Scrolling down a bit, we can simply edit any section or widget or column by selecting the area and choosing what to do. In this section, you can see we currently have got 4 columns. 3 would be text, or 3 would be reserved for text, and this one actually has got an image in it. If we select Edit Image, you can see the bar on the left appear. Here, we can choose to change the image, which we will keep. We can change the image size, as you can see there. We can choose its alignment. We can choose to add a caption and a link to the image. Underneath the style section, we can change the width of the image. As you can see here, we'll set that back to 61 and we'll move forward. Here we can change the transparency of the said image. I'll set that back to default. And as you can see, we can even add a border to the actual image. We will simply choose the border type, enter the width, the color, and the radius. Moving on to the advanced section, again we have our margin and padding, which we have covered previously. This is how you go about editing the offering page on your website.